I want to just say I love outdoor. I always have. It's such a beautiful medium. It's just so simple and it's so in your face, to be quite honest. And I think what we did is we understood, the brief from you guys and what you wanted to do and to really, ignite out of home and specifically the digital out of home space, again, and we kind of had a look at where's most of the media spend going these days. And a lot of it is going into digital. So we thought long and hard and we thought, you know what? um, influencers tend to like chase these hashtags and the algorithms and, they have all these content hacks and what. But billboards just get attention effortlessly. Let's be honest. They're the oldest form of advertising that exists. And they really do. They get attention effortlessly. They're there 24/7. They're 100% organic, you can't scroll, you don't scroll past them, they're there. And, if you had to look at it, we saw out of home as the original influencer, really, because of how long it's been around for. So we called it the OG influencer.
Welcome back to the Beyond the Bubble podcast. Today is a very exciting episode where we pull back the curtain on the OG influencer, South Africa's first multimedia owner collaborative out-of-home marketing initiative. This incredible campaign united 9 media owners across 200 screens that spanned over 4,400 digital out-of-home space in Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape. We are very proud to say that Livia Brown and I managed and executed this campaign under the do.co.za brand and banner with our creative team from Boundless and the PR team Slaps and the participating media owners JC Deco, Evolve Outdoor, Relative Media, Reveal, Tractor Outdoor, ProVantage, Innovation, Prime Media Outdoor, and Alive Advertising. Today, joining us for this episode is Roanna Williams, who comes back to join us on the podcast, the Chief Creative Officer of Boundless. And we also have Lauren Dixon-Paver, the Senior Art Social Director of Boundless, joining us for this episode today, who were critical partners and team members and players with us that made this campaign, conceptualized this campaign, and helped bring it to life. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Together in this episode, we are going to unpack this cheeky, humorous, larger-than-life character that disrupted the media landscape from roadside digital screens to malls to taxi ranks and more, and even all the way to stunts at the Luries and the Most Awards. Such an exciting character and such an exciting campaign. To kick us off into this episode, I need to ask Liv, my co-host, to take off her co-host hat just for a little bit and add on her guest hat and tell us and our listeners all about this campaign. Why was this campaign brought to life? What was the purpose of this campaign? What is the objective? And why was it such a milestone for the industry? And who was the primary audience and why? So Liv, over to you.
Yeah, Kirst, thanks so much. And I am so relieved that the cat is out the bag on who is all behind the OG, because I feel like I've been living a bit of a double life for the period of the campaign, but it's been so exciting to see this campaign come to life. And what I'm really excited about for today's episode is that there is so much work that's gone on in the background to get to what everybody has seen, showcase, and play out in Out of Home so beautifully and magnificently through the OG character. And what I really love about this is that we started months ago with conversations between Kirsty and myself and some of the other partners around how do we make sure that as an industry in South Africa, we're doing everything we can to market the out-of-home channel? How do we make sure that out-of-home is top of mind for media planners, media buyers, clients, creative agencies, other media owners? How do we make sure that we're reminding everybody about what a strong, critical, strategic platform the out-of-home channel is? and how do we make sure that we don't get lost in some of the noise of the other channels that are out there? So the idea of really marketing the out-of-home channel was the purpose of, we need to do something to make sure that out-of-home is putting its best foot forward. We know that the out-of-home landscape is so cluttered with around 350 different media owners. There are about 16,000 billboard faces on roadside. There is so much competition and so much clutter and fragmentation and all these things that we speak about in the market. But what I really love about the out-of-home industry is that, when it comes time to pull together to actually say, how are we going to move forward as a market? How do we make sure we're representing the media in the market properly? Everyone's willing to come together to say, well, how should we do this in the most effective way, and why should we do this? This campaign was targeted specifically at the marketing and media industry. Obviously, it played out in public spaces, and the general public would have enjoyed and played along with some of the messaging that they saw. But we really wanted to call out the media industry, call out marketing professionals, and we also wanted to ensure that it was a collaborative piece. So those were the critical pieces on understanding what did we want to do. We wanted to remind everybody how incredible out of home is. And Roanna, I wanted to ask you, from our creative partner Boundless, once we knew what we wanted to do, that was only really half of the piece of the puzzle. The other part was, what were we going to do for the campaign? How were we going to bring the out of home channel to life? How would we personify it in some way? And we really loved working with the Boundless and the Slaps team. It was just incredible to go through that process together. And I would love it if you could unpack for us from your side of the fence on the creative piece. How did you guys come up with the OG influencer? How did that whole concept come to life?
So, yeah, I mean, I want to just say I love outdoor. I always have. It's such a beautiful medium. It's just so simple and it's so in your face, to be quite honest. And I think what we did is we understood, the brief from you guys and what you wanted to do and to really, ignite out of home and specifically the digital out of home space, again, and we kind of had a look at where's most of the media spend going these days. And a lot of it is going into digital. So we thought long and hard and we thought, you know what? Um, Influencers tend to like chase these hashtags and the algorithms and, they have all these content hacks and what. But billboards just get attention effortlessly. Let's be honest. They're the oldest form of advertising that exists. And they really do. They get attention effortlessly. They're there 24/7. They're 100% organic, you can't scroll, you don't scroll past them, they're there. And, if you had to look at it, we saw out of home as the original influencer, really, because of how long it's been around for. So we called it the OG influencer. And, it really does. It's a space where you speak to the public, and it's also very unforgettable, out of home compared to digital. I think, to digital. If I think about it, you actually, if you had to see like a billboard on the N1, you'd much rather remember that than seeing some things in your feed, scrolling past between like stuff. You won't remember that, but in out of home, you'll remember. And we wanted to really bring that back into the public space and to remind people that billboards are the original influencer. So we brought that to life. And then obviously in the creative, we gave this OG influencer persona, and we wrote some really beautiful, clever lines that are, as we said, very cheeky, very catchy, make people think, and we'll go, I'm sure we'll unpack the profile and what the whole personality is shortly.
I remember when the team at Boundless presented the creative ideas to us, I loved being on the receiving end of the creative table for having the messaging shared with us. Often in my seat from a media perspective, you kind of sit between the client and the creative agency. So it was lovely to actually have the ideas presented to us. What I really loved about the process, just to give some background to that, is that the Boundless team was so focused on what is the actual brief, what are we actually achieving here. And then when you guys presented the creative concepts to us, there were a few different options that we needed to select between, but the OG immediately felt like this is outdoor. The cheekiness of the character, the lines, and like I said, it was so like effortlessly saying the things that were so obvious, and again, comparing or compete, or not competing, but more comparing to a digital influencer, I think was really where some of the fun, cheeky lines came through. So, like verified by eyeballs, it's like so true. There were so many fun ways to play with the kind of lines as well for the campaign. And, a huge piece of this campaign was the collaboration of the media partners that we've worked with, right? So, Kirst, I wanted to ask you, you were in the room when the Boundless team presented this with the collaborating partners that have come together. I wanted to find out from your perspective, what was that meeting like? How was it, the energy in the room? What was it like bringing all these media owners together to present the concept to them?
Yeah, I think it was really powerful. Having a number of media owners that are either doing marketing campaigns, or doing their marketing campaigns in silo individually and haven't come together as a multimedia owner collaborative marketing initiative before. And this was the first of its kind in South Africa. So having these media owners who are typically, competitors and they're competing against one another in the landscape and in the field, coming together in one room with the collective intention of let's do a campaign that drives, the power of out of home and really communicates it to the marketing, the media industry in quite a disruptive way. And I think that really just showcases how amazing the out of home industry is when they do come together with a collective purpose and how we can actually execute amazing work, when that happens. And I think that came through in the OG Influencer campaign. I think it's also important to note that, these media owners that were in this room, that were participating in this campaign and collaborating, really recognize that the competition's not just not in the out of home industry specifically, the competitors and the competition sitting in the other mediums. And we need to be competing against the likes of digital media. And they recognize that. And they know that as we increase and grow that portion of the out of home spend pie, everyone within that out of home industry benefits. And ultimately, so do we locally from an economy point of view, because that spend is staying within our market instead of going, international, overseas to Ireland. And it's actually coming into our local economy, supporting jobs, supporting our local businesses. Something that really made this even more amazing was the fact that there was a lot of artworks and copy lines that were tailored to specific environments and specific locations. And that's what makes, out of home such an incredible medium, is that you use the context of where it is, in your creative and in your campaigns. And that's when you have really powerful campaigns in the out of home space. And I think OG Influencer was reminding, the industry that out of home is the original influencer, but still also using that one of the amazing abilities of out of home is the environments and the context of where those sites are, and bringing that into the artwork. And then also being dynamic. I think, we knew we were on digital out of home. We used the fact that we could change the artwork as we needed to certain things that were happening in the industry. And we even went into personalized artwork for very senior influential media professionals within the industry. We used that ability of digital out of home being that dynamic medium, which I think is amazing. So one, we reminded everybody that out of home's the original influencer, but two, we also really tapped into the really amazing benefits and abilities of the medium. However, in saying that, logistically and from a technical point of view and an execution point of view, I need to speak to you, Lauren, about, how much of a mammoth task this was. Having so many different copy lines, and then also having different artworks for different environments, different locations, different spec sizes. We had small screens to your very, very large, supersized screens, and the creation of that, as well as the distribution, as well as, you were also bringing the OG to life on social handles. I need to ask you, how was it managing all of that for this campaign, which, even though it was only over an 8-week period, it was still a mammoth task.
I think by far this is the largest out of home components I've ever worked on, because usually, in most campaigns, you'll have a couple billboards, maybe like some key sites, but to have so many billboards was just absolutely mind-boggling. I think when we finally wrapped up all the lines and all the different sizes, we had over 300 pieces of artwork. Like, it was absolutely gargantuan,
Wow.
just like nothing many of us have ever worked on before. And I think that was also part of the fun of it, because it meant, like you said, we could tailor those lines to really fit the environment. We could change up the lines if things were happening. We had our billboards up for the Luries, for the most awards, giving nods to, our peers in the industry who were winning those awards. We got to actually play with the environment in really fun ways. So although it was an absolutely, insane number to work with, it's such a fun way to it fits into your environment. I mean, some of my favorite lines were among the gym ones that, putting our boards in gym. I actually walked into my gym and saw it, and I was like, it's such a fun thing that it's like you can never control if someone sees your artwork when it's just on digital. You just know it's going to be on a phone. You don't know anything about where they are, like, what they're doing. But it's only with out of home that you can tap into that environment that way.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point that kind of I'm imagining from your side of the fence from a social perspective is that, like you said, you don't know where exactly that person's going to be when they're seeing your message. Whereas from an outdoor perspective, we had tailored messages to specific environments through gyms, through malls. One of my favorite lines in the malls was always in season, which I thought was really cool with the link to the fashion. And also from a golf course perspective, we had certain golf course messaging or Gautrain messaging. So there were so many environments and chances for us to be so tactical with those lines. And I think, what I also just really want to mention, and you've touched on it, Lauren, is that there were so many different pieces of creative, and it didn't stop at kind of, we launched with multiple sets of creative, and then we adapted as the campaign went. So one of the challenges around the campaign was that we were only using digital out of home. And, often, you want to have a mix of static and digital and different format types. And we had different format types, but it was all digital out of home. And the beauty of that was that we were able to be so adaptable, but you have to be clever and smart with how you're doing digital because you are sharing the space with other brands and all of those other elements come into play when it comes to digital out of home.
Primedia Out of Home puts your brand front and center wherever your consumer lives, works, travels, and shops. From eye-catching billboards and digital screens to high-traffic taxi ranks, buzzing malls, and right inside the store, we connect you to your audience at every stage of their journey. Awareness, consideration, purchase, we're there. We don't just place your brand, we amplify it, elevate it, drive it forward, outdoor, rank, mall, in-store, nationwide. Primedia Out of Home, powering brand presence across South Africa.
Yeah, I think also what was real strength of this campaign was its simplicity of how we treated it. It was the colors really stood out, and I also think the kind of short, snappy lines. I think really lent into like the out of home best practice, and we got a few comments on that actually, which I think that is really amazing for us. And like you say, out of home and digital out of home is so quick. You can do things so quickly. And that amazed me. Like literally the 1 minute it's on our computers, the next minute we're handing the artwork over to you and you go, okay, we live. We're like, what? So it's really amazing how quickly you can go live on digital out of home. And it gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of sort of creative opportunities with other brands, to think that way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think what was also amazing is that we relied so much on our partners who came through with regards to uploading artwork quickly, getting the proof of flighting quickly. Often, specifically with the most and the Luries, we had a quick turnaround of like a night for the creative messaging to go up and then get a picture of it and then put it onto social. So our partners really also stretched their ability and had extra teams on standby to kind of assist. We had one of our media owner partners was running down from their offices to go quickly take a picture. So it was really nice. I think the pace of it felt really fast and cheeky too, which I think linked into the campaign. I think, some of the feedback that Kirsty and I got from some of the media professionals were people were just so excited to hear that we were involved and we were behind it with the team. But they also, people mentioned like, this reminds us of something Pineapple might have done or something Naked are doing. It's something that they're seeing happening in the industry is this multiple creative messaging, being intentional with out of home. Those are the campaigns that are staying with people. And I think that the OG really played on that line too.
Yeah, and I think, like in the past, I remember a lot of work from the 90s, how exceptional it was, and I think there's a new upsurge in out of home, just seeing like when you talk about Pineapple Naked and now the OG is this upsurge in the strength of a billboard and how to use it in the best possible way. So that's quite exciting to see.
We will probably speak about this a bit more, but where to from here? And I think what it's proven to us is the need for these multimedia owner collaborative out-of-home marketing campaigns. It's the first in South Africa. It needs to be done on an annual basis. It was a shorter version campaign that we were doing this year as the first time ever. But in the future iterations, whether it's OG influencer coming back to life in a different way, or whether it's a different creative concept entirely to drive a different objective. And we welcome all media owners in the industry to reach out to us if they're interested to participate in future campaigns. Hopefully we'll have one for 2026. And reach out to us if you are interested as we build out future iterations and marketing initiative campaigns for the out-of-home medium. What I did want to speak about is we've spoken about, how incredible the campaign was, why we've had this campaign, the objective of the campaign, how, like, from a mammoth point of view, operationally, this campaign was exceptionally large. But what really made this campaign was the character. And it's really important for me to ask you, Roanna, how did you conceptualize this character and the tonality? And what was it around this persona specifically that you wanted to make sure was landed within the market? Because I think the character was getting all these responses and emotional responses. When Lib said, when we reached out to media professionals in the industry and we were getting their feedback, they were really speaking about the tonality. They were speaking about how fun and cheeky this character is. And when we did those personalized artworks for specific media professionals, where we had it go up on digital screens, for the likes of Brian Mugatu, Marissa Himraj, Chris Berta, etc., those were tailored to them, but also still kept in that persona and that tonality. So I wanted to ask you about building that persona and that character and what your thinking was behind it.
So we had to give it the kind of the swagger and like the personality of an A sort of the A-class influencer, those, top notchers who are quite, they believe they're got a lot of like ego. They look good. We needed to give that kind of character. I'm going to read you what we wrote because it really brings it down beautifully. It says, this is the OG. I am the ultimate icon of influence, towering, timeless, and completely unbothered by the fickle world of likes and hashtags. I've been shaping opinions and turning heads since before the word influencer even existed. I'm confident without trying, and I know my worth. It's measured in skylines, traffic jams, and citywide attention, not in fleeting online metrics. I speak with easy assurance of someone who watched trends rise and fall from a prime, unshakable vantage point. I throw shade with elegance, charm with understatement, and I never need to shout to be heard. My audience isn't a follower count, it's the entire population. My posts aren't swiped past, they're built into your daily commute. Unmissable, unfiltered, unmatched. I don't chase relevance, I am relevance. So that in a nutshell is the OG sort of profile of how we kind of envisioned this character coming to life. And I think the lines all speak to that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think hearing the persona that you've created, it definitely played out and translated in the lines. And like I said, I think a lot of people have shared the copy lines with us to be like, this is my favorite. So it's been great to hear how the industry have responded to it. Kirsty, I wanted to ask you if you could share with us kind of some of the detail of what the OG did around Lurie's and Most Awards. You were actually up on stage presenting the out-of-home category award at Most on behalf of the OG, which was such a huge accomplishment and accolade for this campaign, and to show kind of what the industry's response was to the OG. I wonder if you could just share some of that with us. We did so many tactical, fantastic things for award season. If you could share some of the detail with us, would be great.
So I love that our campaign happened to be over at the timing of the award season, particularly because of who our primary audience was. Like, that actually happened so organically. It wasn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was not planned.
It was not planned. And then I think we all, Boundless, Slaps, and ourselves, kind of had this aha moment during the conceptualization of going, wow, guys, there's the award season is happening over the same time. We have to do something. And we got to the point of the campaign having been running for a couple of weeks already. And we were like, okay, we've got to move quite fast on coming up with some ideas, quite tactically and quite fast. And I'll let the Boundless team talk about Lurie's because they were actually present there. But from a most point of view, what we did, and it's a similar activation tactically that what happened at Lurie's, but Boundless had recommended that we go quite guerrilla and tactical when we printed stickers, and were able to tag individuals by hugging them. Including Rose just put a sticker on for us. Thank you. Lauren's also putting one on. I don't have mine here. Thank you for putting the stickers on. So those stickers that says "Make Everything Outdoor" ended up getting tagged on people at the awards. So you would hug somebody, you would feel that they have a sticker on the back. You would see people walking around. They had these yellow, very definitive color tone for this campaign. You could see it all over the digital screens, but you'd see these stickers, these yellow stickers everywhere. And then obviously that was quite tactical and quite fun, and everybody kind of joined in and wanted to get tagged, or was kind of asking about it. And then when OG Influencer presented the Best Out of Home Media Owner Award at most awards, that was a really powerful moment. OG Influencer came on stage through a pre-recorded video, and really told the industry that out of home really is the deserving medium for the most awards, and for all awards, and really spoke about how I loved this line in the video, which was the media owners just renting the view from the OG influencer, because the OG influencer is outdoor. But yeah, it was a very powerful moment. For me, it was a privilege and an honor to be able to hand over the award for a medium that I am super passionate about, and have spent, over 13 years building my career around. So a very powerful moment to be on stage. But I wasn't at the Lurie's, even though I wish I was. So I'm going to hand over to Roanna and Lauren to tell us a bit about how OG activated at Lurie's.
Just playing with this idea of the OG influencer, playing with the idea that sure, digital is always made to seem like the hot, shiny new thing. But when it comes down to it, it's very rare to find a medium with the impact and the sort of targetability that outdoor has in that regard, right? But I mean, we tagged the chairman of the Lurie's, sorry, Kabza, who ended up on stage doing his address with the sticker on his back, got called out on stage wearing that sticker that I don't think he knew he had there. And, it was just a wonderful, really fun experience. Had people realize it was us. And then we were like, thank you so much for noticing, and putting 3 stickers on their backs as they came up to us. I think it's really fun and just really fits so well into the OG's character, right? That it's like, of course the OG was at the trees, and of course the OG was going to remind us all that you can make everything outdoor. I think it's one of those things, like you said, Kirst, where it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. Like, it's not a us versus them when it's one media owner versus another. It's when people recognize that the medium has value, it's good for everyone. And I think that's been such a fun part of this. And just sort of removing that competitive edge from this campaign has been such a special experience. Like, it's very rare to see so many media owners, like agencies, anyone coming together, not to compete or for what they could get out of it, but because they are passionate about this and they know that it benefits everyone at the end of the day.
I really wanted to kind of go around the room, so to speak, with each of you, and just find out, what was your highlight of the campaign, whether it be like the creative lines that really stood out to you, or moments of the campaign that you really felt, were awesome. I think I'll start by sharing mine. Kind of one of the lines that I really, really loved was, "Halo, is it me you looking for?" It was such a classic line, kind of calling out or giving a nod to Halo Advertising, who we've had on the podcast. We've had Dean join us, as well as Pineapple, one of their major clients in out of home. So it was a nice nod to them, and also obviously a cheeky play on words. So I really loved that line. That line was actually co-created with Simon Wall from Glint or Tractor Outdoor. So I loved that line. It was really funny, and there was some nice engagement around that. And one of my campaign moments that stood out for me was when the Daily Maverick picked up the OG article organically and wrote their own piece on it. I really was so proud of what we had achieved by reading this article, not only wondering who was the OG, but celebrating the out-of-home channel. So it's those organic pieces that come up that I really felt so proud of what we had done, and that it felt like what we were trying to achieve had landed, and that a third party, a media publication, had picked up the campaign, had written their own article. We'll link it in the episode description, but it was great to have them give an accolade and a nod to the out-of-home channel organically, which is exactly the purpose of what we wanted to do, was remind everybody how amazing the out-of-home channel is. So yeah, I don't know, Kirsty, I'll hand over to you if you want to give us some of your highlights of the campaign.
Wow. From my side, I would say I loved our gym copy line, which was "You stretch, I reach." I just loved that. I thought it was so apt for the environment. And then I would say the personalized artwork for Brian Magatu. If anyone knows Brian, everyone will know that Brian always wears hats. And he looks fabulous in them. And I loved the personalized artwork that went out for him to say from OG that if I had a hat, I'd tip it for you, for Brian, which I thought was fabulous. And Brian obviously had reshared it on his social pages. A lot of those personalized artwork pieces were really, really amazing. And then I would say, like, obviously, one of the great successes is the amount of earned media we got for this campaign from a PR perspective. And, big shout out to our Slaps team on that, Slaps agency team on that. But it is amazing to see the amount of earned media that we received. And yeah, that just shows you, how many of the publications and the news platforms. We also had World Out of Home, which is obviously a huge accolade, pick up the campaign and share it globally. So, those are amazing accolades just to showcase how incredible the campaign was, and also how fun. And I think as much as it was a lot of work, it was also an amazing lot of fun.
Okay. My favorite copy line was I was here before Beatlemania and I'll be here after Dubai Chocolate Labubus. I thought that was just such a fun way of kind of encapsulating just how long billboards have been a thing. Like, what do you mean you've outlived my entire family's history? Like, everyone has seen a billboard, right? Like, before my mom had TV, there were billboards. And I think it's just such a fun way of saying, like, it will outlive every trend, every, thing that pops up on the algorithm. This will continue on long after all of that. And when it comes down to it, I mean, how many times has any one of us gone past a billboard, thought, oh, that looks interesting, and then gone home and Googled it, And I think it's been so great to see these little communities sort of growing, people interacting with the OG online. And it's just been amazing to see those two media working alongside each other in that way.
I also enjoyed the the hierarchy of needs. That's right. I thought that was quite nice. Just a really fun tactical one. And then the other highlight for me was definitely sticking stickers on the whole industry. I've got to say, I haven't had that much fun since I was really little, but it's really good. And when we got that mention on the stage, I was like, oh my God. And that was brilliant, because that was just organic, really. And I think it allowed us to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I think like the campaigns that are standing out in field at the moment are the ones that are in the humor, funny, cheeky, not just cheeky, but that fun kind of tonality. And those are the campaigns in the out-of-home landscape that are getting a lot of that attention. I do want to just, as we go to the close, I just want to give a call out and a thank you and a well done to the participating media owners who, were brave enough, who put up their hands and wanted to be a part of doing a campaign that was a out-of-home marketing initiative focused campaign. And they knew that was collaborating with multiple media owners, and just their excitement and their support. And as Liv said, having teams on the ready when we needed to turn something around really, really fast. So a big shout out and a well done for those media owners for being a part of this milestone. And we look forward to more of these campaigns in the years to come.
Yeah. 100% agree with you. Also, just to build on what Kirsty said, I think they really, the collaboration that went into this campaign coming to life through the media owner partners, as well as the Boundless and the Slaps team, none of this would have been possible without them. So it really was a collaborative piece of work, and certainly a piece of work that I'm really, really proud to have been a part of. So thank you so much to you guys for joining us for today's episode. Thank you, Kirsty, for joining me and executing the OG. It was something so amazing for us to do together. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's next.
Thanks for joining us today to go beyond the billboard
Subscribe to our podcast to ensure you don't miss out on our exciting content.
Join us again to go beyond the billboard.
1,